Negotiation Toolkit. This is a new and short course titled Negotiation Toolkit, taken from the book Training Courses by Muteb Alqarni. Negotiation is a well-known skill among major soft skills, such as communication, problem-solving and decision-making, etc. Although it intersects with sales and marketing, the focus of this course is on a simple idea: how to take something from a stubborn person with the least effort. In other words, how do we negotiate with stubborn individuals and persuade them? How do we obtain a notebook from a diligent and smart student a day before the exam? How do we reclaim a loan from someone who disappeared and did not return? How do I obtain my natural marital rights from my spouse? How do I negotiate with an experienced car dealer to buy a car? How do I negotiate with a stubborn man to buy his house? Let's delve into the course. First, what does negotiation mean? Negotiation is an interactive process between two parties aimed at reaching an agreement. That is the definition of negotiation. The achievement of successful negotiation can be said to be based on two principles: 1. Dispelling fears, and 2. Clarifying gains. In other words, if you want to take something from a stubborn person, dispel their fears and clarify their gains. Simple as that. However, you cannot dispel someone's fears and clarify their gains until you understand them. Therefore, the theoretical framework for successful negotiation is understanding the other party, understanding their fears and gains. So, identify now the stubborn person from whom you want to take something, whether it's a notebook, a loan, a car for a short trip, or an upgrade, and let's proceed together to understand them and then dispel their fears and clarify their gains. Since understanding the other party and knowing their fears and gains are determined before, during, and after the dialogue process, the first step in negotiation is opening a discussion. Whatever your request is, start a conversation. This is what Carrie Fisher says: everything in life is negotiable. That is, everything you think is difficult is negotiable, but open it in the right way, meaning don't ask directly. For example, pave the way for your request by asking about peripheral issues. Want a notebook from a diligent student? Start by asking, how is he doing with studying? To prepare him for your request. Want a loan from a friend? Ask him about his financial circumstances. Diving into an appropriate conversation wraps the request in general interest rather than self-interest. The question is, how will you pave the way and introduce your request to your stubborn friend? After paving the way for your request, make your request directly, but this time with the expectation of acceptance. Request, and while requesting, act confidently, fully expecting the other party not to refuse. The biggest mistake in negotiation is making the other party feel that you expect rejection. If you anticipate rejection, it will make it easier for them to reject you. Raise your expectations of acceptance more clearly. This makes it difficult for the other party to refuse, as the expectations place it on them are significant, and rejection would be surprising. You cannot shock someone who thinks highly of you and expects you to accept. For example, don't say to the student you want his notebook, "Please don't refuse. Yes, it's difficult for you, and you might decline my request, but I do need your notebook." I think your presentation makes it easier for me to say no. When making a request, affirming your expectations of acceptance, two things will follow. Either they agree to your request, which is your goal, or they refuse. If they refuse, the next step is to give them enough time to think. Some random responses may not have been well thought out by the other party. Therefore, it is important to give the other party more time to think. You can say, for example, "Don't rush to reject. Take an hour to think about it before making a decision, not to come up with excuses." This response will prompt them to reconsider their decision. "I'll give you an hour to think about it, and I expect you to change your mind and give me the notebook." They might consider taking a backup photocopy of their notebook and give it to you. "Think for an hour. I need the loan now." They may reconsider and ask for a loan from someone else and give it to you. The question is, do you give the other person enough time? When giving the other person time, your goal is to give them time to dispel their own fears and realize their gains. They may think about taking a photocopy of the notebook, thus dispelling their fear of not getting it back from you. Remember this well. Acceptance means dispelling fears and realizing gains. But what if they insist on refusal? You can now explore their fears and desires in two ways, either by playing the role or by asking directly. Playing the role is putting yourself in the other party's shoes and asking, "If I were this student, why would I refuse? If I were the person you lent money to, why would I refuse?" Discover fears and desires. If you don't reach anything, ask the other party directly, "What are you afraid will happen if you give me the notebook? What do you want from me to return the loan to me?" Asking is the beginning of understanding. When you reach an understanding of the other party's fears and desires, you have reached what finalizes the negotiation. These are valuable pieces of information, and information is the negotiator's weapon, as Victor Khayyam says. You have information about their fear that you did not know before. So the next step is to work on dispelling these fears, as there is no acceptance without dispelling fears first. The student might say, "I'm concerned you won't return the notebook." So reassure them and alleviate their fears. "I will return it 100% and come with me while photocopying it. I'm afraid I'll need the money if I return the loan to you." Assure them, "Return my money now, then ask me when you need something and I will lend you again." Don't forget this idea, as it is everything. There is no acceptance without dispelling fears and clarifying gains. Have you dispelled the fears of your stubborn person? Nevertheless, also remember the following. If fear is an obstacle preventing the success of negotiation, then giving something to the other party is a good motive that drives your success. As we said, clarify gains. You must clarify what you will give in return. Give something because negotiation is an exchange of interests and a win-win relationship. You won't win unless the other party wins, whether it's a moral or material gain. Try saying to the student, "If you give me the notebook, I will never forget your favor," morale gain. Or, "If you return my money, I will take 2 copies for you," material gain. And tell the borrower, "If you give it to me, I'll deduct a portion for you," material gain. Do you clarify the gains for your partner? Everything we have done targets only 2 things. 1. Dispelling fears, and 2. Clarifying gains. We will do this in everything that follows as well. Let's learn a new technique for clarifying gains, and that is to give a gift before making a request. This is an immediate gain because what you did before was just empty promises. "Shakur, I'll take 2 copies, etc." Present something tangible now. Negotiators today give gifts and bribes before making a request. It's a useful technique. Give a gift before asking for something, like saying to the student, "Take this luxurious pen," and after they are pleased with it, ask for the notebook. Take this valuable rosary. It's dear to me. And after they are happy, say, I need your car for a short trip tomorrow. The question is, have you thought about giving a gift before making a request from your stubborn counterpart? We learned a technique for clarifying gains earlier, and now we will learn a technique for dispelling fears, because successful negotiation dispels fears and clarifies gains. One way to dispel fears is to ask for something big and then return to asking for something small. For example, think before asking for something small, ask for something big, and after creating a fake fear in the other party, ask for the desired small thing. With the student, for example, say, I want to come to your house to study together. And if their fear increases, reassure them and say, no need for that. I just want the notebook to take a photo of it. Say to the car owner, I want your car for a week. Then say, no, I want it for an hour, just for 2 hours. Say to the borrower, I want $5,000 now. Then say, don't worry, I only need my loan amount, $3,000. Create a fake fear and then remove it. What is the goal of asking for something big and then asking for something small? Firstly, to remove the fear, and secondly, to make the big request a point of comparison during the negotiating conversation. That is, to minimize your request through comparison. The other party may be an anxious personality suffering from irrational fear, so it is important to contain their fear by minimizing or simplifying. For example, say to the student, see, it's very simple, very simple. It's just a notebook. I didn't ask you to come to your house to study together. See, it's really simple. Don't complicate it. This is my due, $3,000, and we are square. I didn't ask for more. See, it's just 2 hours, and your car will never be affected. It's simple. Minimizing is a tool that dispels irrational fear. The question is, do you make your request look small and compare it to a bigger one? Another way to dispel fears is by creating a comfortable atmosphere. When minimizing requests, you must appear genuinely relaxed rather than tense. A tense atmosphere from the beginning signifies sensitivity to requests and increases the chances of rejection. So it may be essential to bring a sense of humor, smiles, laughter, and light mockery, non-offensive. For example, alleviate your request with a smiling face. Smile at the student and say, I'm smiling now because I didn't expect you to refuse. It's simple. If I asked to study with you and you refused, I would have excused you. I'm smiling because I didn't expect rejection. It's simple because I didn't ask for the car for a week. Make the smile comforting and emphasize a relaxing atmosphere without making the other party feel insulted. Ask yourself, do you smile, simplify things, and create a comfortable atmosphere? Notice that in this course, we are gradually progressing through the negotiation techniques. Nevertheless, we do not lose the line, the path, and the goal, dispelling fears and clarifying gains. After making the atmosphere comfortable and removing irrational fear from the other party, all you have left is patience and repeating the request, implementing the previous techniques simultaneously. Yes, patience is a trait of successful negotiators. In his book, Successful Negotiation Strategies, Dr. Jim Henning says, negotiation is like a sports competition. Who endures more wins. You must be patient, repeat your request, insist, because persistence is an effective strategy in negotiation, even in prayer, which is a negotiating situation. Allah loves those who persist in their prayers. Are you patient and insistent? If you have done everything mentioned above and there is no result, you are likely dealing with a stubborn personality. However, do not worry. There are still many techniques to dispel their fear and change their mind. One of the most important is the declaration of sudden surrender. After being patient, insisting, and trying, announce your surrender and inform them about other options. Trump says, "The worst thing you can do for any deal is to show too much eagerness." In other words, do not show your enthusiasm and indicate other options you have to fulfill your request. Tell the student, "Okay, I don't want your notebook. I'll ask so-and-so." For the car owner, "Okay, I don't want your car. I'll ask someone else." Be careful not to show it in a way that contains an insult to the other party, as your goal is still to convince them. Have you expressed your lack of interest in the thing being requested even a little? When we tell the other party that we will get the same request from others, our goal is to inform them that what they have is not unique or exceptional, but available everywhere. This technique dispels their fears about what they have, as what they have is not valuable enough to be preserved excessively. The other party might say, "Okay, talk to so-and-so and take his notebook." Or, "Okay, good luck, talk to so-and-so and take his car." Here, you need to reevaluate the situation and say, "But so-and-so might refuse. I came to you because your notebook is better, and I expected you not to refuse." With this return, you save them, preserving their dignity from embarrassment, as you made them feel insulted a while ago when you turned away from them, but now you are returning to them. Remember that the goal is to clarify gains. Preserving their dignity is a new gain for them you have clarified. When you show consideration for the person you are requesting from and preserve their dignity, you are giving them a favor. It is likely that they will fulfill your request as a gesture of gratitude. But what if they don't agree? Here, you need to reconsider how they see you. Your reputation may not be good enough for them to concede to what you are asking. Therefore, as a means of dispelling their fears, you need to show them that you are an honest and trustworthy person. William Ury, in his book Getting Past No, says, "The most important qualities of a negotiator are to be honest and consistent." Try dispelling their fears by telling them about your previous experiences, like saying, "I've taken so-and-so's notebook before and returned it. Ask him about me and confirm. I took so-and-so's car and returned it in good condition, and let's call him." Ask yourself, do you have evidence to prove your sincerity and trustworthiness? When you share your experiences with the other party to confirm your honesty and trustworthiness, and they still refuse, there might be another reason for their hesitation: the influence of role models in their community. Perhaps they have a misconception that people don't give away their notebooks or cars, or they've heard a scary story about such things and want to emulate it. Here, the next step is to show that their thoughts are misguided. Confirm to them that their community does give and doesn't reject. This is a crucial step in negotiation because people naturally prefer to align with others rather than go against them. So, tell the student that people do give away their notebooks and inform the car owner that people do lend their cars. By doing this, you dispel their fear of going against their community. The question: do you affirm to your other party that people give away the same things? But what if you tell them that everyone else does what they refuse to do, and yet they insist on rejection? Here comes another strategy to dispel their fears: seeking the help of a friend. As they say, if every door has a key, then the key for a person is their friend. Think of a friend they like to help you persuade them. Often people are influenced by their friends, as friends are trusted advisors. This is where the idea of using connections in negotiation and job seeking came from. Your friend has spent years with you, and you will trust their judgment. Yes, don't underestimate this idea. Ask the student's friend to intervene on your behalf, ensuring he vouches for you that you would return the notebook. Ask the car owner's friend to intercede for you. Have you considered using the other party's friend as a mediator to persuade them? But what if the other party is not convinced by their friend? It's likely that their friend is the one influencing their decision. It's likely that their friend is advising them not to give you the notebook. Now try another negotiation strategy: divide and conquer. Separate friends as much as possible. Someone might say, "Are we doing all this for a notebook or a car?" These are just illustrative examples. The idea of divide and conquer is an important negotiation technique used in political affairs between countries. So, we said earlier that the solution is to separate the student from his friend, and we don't mean to create conflict between them, as that won't be useful. Instead, make the student feel the importance of independence in his opinion from his friend's opinion, saying, "This is your notebook, so don't be influenced. Your friend cares too much." Do you encourage them to be independent in their opinion? When you encourage independence in the other party's opinion, they will begin to think independently. This is an important step, especially as some parties may have their decisions governed by others. It's better to separate them from others by supporting independence. Yes, divide them, as the issue is a notebook, which is trivial and doesn't require much consultation or influence from friends. But what if you cannot encourage independence? Create imaginary enemies. Notifying the other party of a common enemy between you will push them to cooperate with you to confront this enemy. Make them feel that there is an enemy rejoicing in their rejection. Choose an enemy for the student and say, "So-and-so, his enemy, is happy now because you didn't give me the notebook," or "So-and-so is happy that you didn't lend me your car because he said you're stingy and won't do it." Clarify their gain, as their gain is defeating the enemy. But what if they still refuse despite all these attempts? Here, you must compromise on half of what you are requesting and exit this process. Even if with a small gain, that's still a win. So, ask for only half. Requesting half also dispels fears. So, it is an effective technique among successful negotiation tactics because it dispels fears. But what is the benefit of asking for half? The benefit is that whoever gives you half will not find it difficult to give you the whole thing. The benefit is that the distant distance has become a short distance. As the English saying goes, "He who gives an inch will give a mile." Remember that the other party has refused many times before, despite your constant efforts, making it challenging for them to refuse half. The question: do you ask for half? Ask yourself, do you request half and say, "Give me half of the notebook, and I'll get the other half from someone else," or "Lend me the car for an hour today, and I'll ask so-and-so to lend me his car for 5 hours tomorrow"? Try it. But what if they refuse again? This is a sign that you are negotiating with a stubborn person, or you are requesting something challenging to give, even if only half. Here, you need to compromise further and ask for a quarter. Flexibility is a skill of successful negotiators. Ask for a quarter, as success is leaving with something, even if little, from this process. Agreeing to a quarter means agreeing to the whole as well, always remembering the English saying, "He who gives an inch will give a mile." The question: do you gradually move towards your main request? Why is the gradual process important? Because it dispels fears and eventually leads to complete acquisition. One of the famous political negotiation techniques is the take and demand technique, suggested by the former Algerian president Abu Rugheiba for the Palestinians, saying, "Take any land Israel grants you, then demand more. Take and commit not to ask, then resume demanding. A quarter means half, and half means the whole." A failed negotiator is one who says, "Either I take the notebook entirely, or I don't want it at all. Either the car for 2 hours, or no need for an hour." Try taking the car for an hour, then call the owner, and you'll find him saying, "That's fine, extend the time to 2 hours." Ask yourself, do you move gradually in your request? The take and demand approach is called nibbling, meaning eating bite by bite. Abu Dulama, a classic character in Arabic comedic literature, used a similar approach with the Caliph Asafah one day. Asafah asked him, "Tell me your need, Abu Dulama." Abu Dulama said, "I want a hunting dog." Asafah said, "Easy, take it." Abu Dulama said, "The dog is useless without a mount, an animal ride." Asafah said to his servants, "Give him a mount." Abu Dulama said, "And the mount needs a houseboy to take care of it." Asafah said, "Give him a houseboy." Abu Dulama said, "And the boy and I need a maid to cook the game for us." Asafah said, "Give him a maid." Abu Dulama said, "And we need a house to live in." Asafah said, "Give him a house." Abu Dulama said, "And we need an estate to live on." Asafah said, "Give him 10 barren lands and 10 profitable farms." Abu Dulama said, "What's the use of the barren ones?" Asafah said, "Make them all profitable farms." Notice how Abu Dulama nibbled 20 estates for a hunting dog. Try to be the new Abu Dulama. But what if you nibbled in requests, asked for a quarter of the notebook, and were rejected? Here, try one last technique, which is to pledge that this is your final request, and you won't ask for anything more afterward. This technique means giving the other party a permanent relief, so it is a technique to dispel their fears and clarify their gains. It's an opportunity for the other party to give you something, and finally be at ease with your requests. However, you must be aware that you are committing and be prepared to fulfill your promise. Leaving with something little is better than not leaving with the whole thing. Say, for example, "I promise that if you give me the notebook, even half or a quarter, I won't ask you for anything else ever again, and let others endorse our agreement." Have you tried pledging that this is your last request from your stubborn counterpart? It's an eternal relief and a dispelling of their total fears. But what if the other party refuses to give you your request, despite your commitment that this is your final and ultimate request? What if they reject it, even though you announced your commitment in front of others? In short, this means that they are not necessarily stubborn personalities, but rather, the requested thing is hard to give. Here, you must think of a last resort, which is to wear out the stubborn, exhaust the other party by asking for other small things, even if they are not your needs, as compensation for your requests. Say, "Okay, I accepted your apology for this notebook, maybe because the exam is near. I want you to give me the other notebook because we have a week before the exam." It is more likely for them to agree after you adjust the direction to other things. The question: do you request alternatives to your request? When you request symbolic items or other ordinary services as alternatives to your essential need, the other party will face two choices: either to give you or not. It is more likely that they will give what they do not need, what they do not feel fearful about. However, they will definitely not give you what they fear losing. When they give you something, try to express gratitude for what they provide. The goal is to build a lasting relationship and a good reputation. Thanking and showing appreciation publicly increases the other party's generosity, as it clarifies their gains, referred to as the gain of a good reputation. Not expressing gratitude means exploitation and confirms fears about your bad reputation. Thanking, especially for small things, confirms your grateful character, possibly prompting them to reconsider meeting your primary request. Do you express gratitude? However, what if they don't give you anything, neither small nor essential? This confirms their stubborn character, because the small side requests you make are not difficult to fulfill. Your requests are easy, and there is no justification for not granting them except stubbornness. Here, use the last trick, which is public pressure, meaning subtly sharing your issue with friends without causing harm. Speak to others, saying something like, "What do you think, Ali, about so-and-so? I asked him for a notebook, and he refused. And I asked for a pen, and he refused. And I asked for an eraser, and he also refused." Or, "What do you think? I asked for the car for 2 hours, and he refused. And I asked him to give me a ride, and he refused. And I asked him to ask so-and-so for his car, for me, and he refused to intervene." Apply public pressure, but not with the intention to defame. Perhaps they will agree to your request, just to ease the pressure. However, remember the following. When involving the public in the negotiation process, it means you may lose your final relationship with the party you negotiate with, or you may not, depending on the circumstances. But what is important here is to remember that negotiation is a successful process and a good reputation. The more you publicize, the more there will be publicity against you. This means losing your reputation as a negotiator in front of others as well. But what if he doesn't give you despite public pressure? Here comes the last piece of advice. Look for a notebook from another person, thank whoever gives you, and inform others that you appreciate and are grateful to him for helping you, without harming the previous party. A successful negotiator builds multiple relationships and does not cling to one, and also does not harm those who reject them severely. Here we reach the final stage of the Negotiation Toolkit course. We learned how to achieve our specific requests in a challenging way. We tried to persuade a student to give us his notebook before the exam, and we tried to get a car from another person, and we may succeed in practical application, or we may not. The lesson is in practice. The more you practice, the better you negotiate. That's the rule. The last piece of advice is to memorize this basic idea in negotiation. Negotiation is dispelling fears and clarifying gains. Don't forget this point, as it is everything. Always ask yourself, what are the other party's fears, desires, and what do they want to gain? Think in light of these principles and work on dispelling their fears and clarifying their gains, as this is the foundation of successful negotiation. This training course, Negotiation Toolkit, is taken from the book Training Courses by Muteb Alqarni.